I'm Jacob from the Sustainably Yours Homestead, and today I'm learning how to identify an edible weed known as the common chickweed. The last video I released was about harvesting some oyster mushrooms that were growing on my little oyster tree in the back pasture. And I mentioned there that the reason I came out was to film a video on common chickweed, and that's what I'm here to do today. It's been about 3 days since I filmed the oyster mushroom video. And again, I come out here and we have oyster mushrooms again. And they all appear to be growing from some of the smaller mushrooms that I left alone the last time. So I'm going to go ahead and grab those before I leave today, but we're going to continue on with the common chickweed video. As its name implies, common chickweed, or Stellaria media as it's known to science, is a very common plant here in Arkansas. You'll find it just about anywhere there's been a disturbance in the environment. You clear out a spot for your garden, or you turn over some soil, you're probably going to find some common chickweed growing there right about early springtime. And most people consider it to be an invasive weed. They'll go to great lengths to clear it out of their yard. But chickweed is a really cool plant. Not only is it edible, it's also supposed to have medicinal properties, and some people even say that it can tell the weather. For right now, I'm kind of wanting to know how this stuff tastes, so we're going to get out and find a little bit of it, talk about how to identify it. There are a few lookalikes that you need to watch out for that can be toxic, so we're going to talk about some characteristics to look for when you're searching for common chickweed. Now, I've been able to find this chickweed everywhere from full sun to partial shaded areas, so it's not extremely picky about where it grows. I know we've got some. Here's some right here, I believe. So this is going to be your common chickweed. Now notice how it kind of spreads itself out with these long tendril-like pieces. Get a good look at the shapes of the leaves. Notice that the leaves are opposite each other on the stem. The stem terminates in what will eventually be some little white flowers. As a matter of fact, you can kind of see where this one is getting ready to flower out. You can see a little bit of the white color there. And I'm going to dig some of this up from the root. Okay, let's take a look at that. Notice how all of this comes from one little bitty stem that goes down into the ground. I'm going to dig that up. Let's take a look at the root system. There we go. Pretty extensive system of roots there. Okay, I've kind of moved this over into the sunlight so we can take a look at a few features. Again, we looked at the leaves. They kind of have that spade shape to them. Another distinguishing characteristic for Stellaria media, for this common chickweed. See if I can get this to focus. Notice right along this edge, there's a little line of hairs, but they're only on one side of the stem. The entire stem is not going to be hairy. There's just going to be a little line of hairs that goes up one side of the stem. So there it is on this section of stem. We get to the node, this little area right here where the leaves pop out of. And on the next section of the stem, you still have one line of hairs, but notice that it kind of rotates to another side. Then you get to another node. The next section of stem has one line of hair that has rotated to another side. Right, so that's a distinguishing characteristic for common chickweed, for Stellaria media. Notice that I can break the stem, and there's not any milky sap that comes out. That'll be very important here in just a second. And another thing I can do with the stem of these things, I'm going to take it, I'm going to break it, we'll bend it one way, bend it back the other, give it just a little bit of a twist, and pull. And notice that the inside of the stem stays attached while the outer coating kind of like separates. We get that little string there. And all of those are characteristics that you can use to distinguish common chickweed, Stellaria media, from some of its toxic lookalikes. I've been able to find 3 different lookalikes in my research that could be a problem for you. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to find them anywhere on my property, or maybe fortunately. Otherwise, I would give you a side-by-side comparison. But instead, I guess I'm just going to kind of tell you what you can look for, and I'll show you on the chickweed plant what to compare to. The first toxic lookalike that I'll talk about here on this video is called Scarlet Pimpernel. It does look similar to the common chickweed, but the flowers on this plant are going to be red in color. But what if you're out in early spring and the flowers aren't blooming yet? How would you be able to tell common chickweed from Scarlet Pimpernel? Take a look at the stems. Remember that line of hair on a single side that I showed you on the common chickweed? That is going to be your distinguishing characteristic to tell the difference between Stellaria media and Scarlet Pimpernel. Another dangerous lookalike for this plant would be common spurge. Now, there are several different species of spurge plants. I'm not super familiar with them. The common spurge, or the one that I found online that kind of resembles chickweed, is commonly found growing from places like cracks in sidewalks and things like that. And it's oftentimes found growing side by side with chickweed. So you got to watch out for it. And the dead giveaway to tell the difference between common spurge versus common chickweed: break the stem. If it exudes a milky white sap, you have spurge. If not, it's likely that you have common chickweed. And finally, there's a type of plant commonly known as rough Mexican clover. I think the scientific name is something like Riccardia scabria, something like that, Riccardia scabria. And for this plant, the leaf does kind of resemble that spade-shaped leaf on the common chickweed. Again, though, the way to tell the difference between the two is to look at the stem. Recall that the common chickweed has that single line of hairs that run up one side of the stem. However, for rough Mexican clover, the entire stem is going to be hairy, and there you probably will also see hair on the leaves as well. So hopefully that will help you learn to identify common chickweed. Now, don't think that you're going to watch this video and go out fully armed with knowledge. You should definitely do your own research. Look at pictures online first. Then you should go out and find examples of common chickweed. Find examples of all of the other common lookalikes. Be sure that you know what you're looking for before you try to eat anything that you find in the wild. But I am 100% confident that this is common chickweed. This has been picked for quite a while. You can see it's getting wilty. I'm going to head out and find a fresher specimen. I'm going to harvest just a little bit of it and give it a try, see how it treats my stomach. And as with any wild edibles, even though they're non-toxic, you never really know how your system is going to react to them. So anytime you try a new wild edible, you want to try just a little bit, see how your body reacts to it, and then maybe try a little more and work your way up to it. And from what I've found online with chickweed, the best part for eating is going to be new growth. So notice here we have these large stems, large leaves. That's probably been there for quite a while. I'm looking for something a little newer than that. It looks like what we have right about here. So I'm going to go ahead and pull some of this up. I'll take it back. I'll give it a good double check to make sure it is chickweed. And then I'm going to give it a little try. Alright, so I'm going to look at this up close. Has the spade-shaped leaves. Yeah, there we go. The hair, the single line of hair is growing. Let's snap this stem. No milky substance. The inside, kind of the core of the stem, is still kind of sticking out there. This is going to be chickweed. So let's give this stuff a try. I have no idea what it's going to taste like. Never tried it before, so you're going to get the genuine reaction. Here we go. Yeah, it's not bad. Has kind of a chlorophyll taste to it. Yeah, I would say that's the predominant flavor. Chlorophyll, maybe like a fresh green out of the garden, maybe some fresh kale. Not bad at all. Alright, let's talk dietary facts and medicinal properties. First of all, common chickweed is pretty high in protein. You're going to get about 14.5 grams of protein per 100 grams of dry chickweed. Note that statistic that I was able to find is for dry chickweed. It's going to take quite a bit of that stuff to come up with 100 grams after you've taken out all the water weight. But still, 14.5 grams is fairly high protein value. And that common name, chickweed, is because chickens enjoy eating it. And I think that probably has a lot to do with the fact that they get lots of protein out of it. If you're looking for something that you can feed your chickens, some free forage, grow yourself some common chickweed. It's also super high in vitamin C. You'll get about 375 milligrams of vitamin C in your 100 grams of dry chickweed. Compare that to what everybody thinks is high in vitamin C in orange. 100 grams of orange will give you about 52.3 milligrams of vitamin C. So common chickweed, way on up there in terms of vitamin C content. Now it does contain compounds known as saponins, I don't know which way you pronounce that. Maybe somebody can let me know down in the comments. But these compounds can be toxic in high quantities. You would have to eat quite a bit of raw chickweed to get enough to be toxic for you, I believe. Apparently those compounds are not very easily absorbed by the body. So eating a little bit of raw chickweed, perfectly acceptable. But like I said, if you're trying it for the first time, you want to start off with just a little bit. That way you know how your body is going to react to it before you eat like an entire meal. But if you want to be on the safe side, if you cook this stuff, it will destroy those toxic chemicals and you can eat as much as you would like. As for some of the medicinal uses for the common chickweed, first of all, let me make sure I warn you, I am not a doctor. I am not giving medical advice. All I'm telling you is research that I've found online about how this plant has been historically used. So please, before you try anything that I've talked about in this video, do your own research, make your own decision. So some of the things that this is commonly used for, you can smash it up and form a poultice, and a lot of times you can put it in the freezer, that way it's nice and cool and soothing, and it can be used to relieve itchy, dry, irritated areas on your skin. Apparently it can help with varicose veins, you know, those little purple spider veins that you can get sometimes. And I've even read that it can be effective against hemorrhoids. So basically any place where you have blood vessels that are kind of swollen near the surface of your skin, apparently this can help with that. An infusion of chickweed with your bath water can help with inflammation in your joints, so things like arthritis. It has also been used internally, so ingested, as a cough expectorant and to relieve constipation. And as a matter of fact, high doses of raw chickweed can cause diarrhea and vomiting in some people. And so there's common chickweed for you. A delicious and nutritious wild edible. You can eat the stems, the flowers, the seeds. It's all good. It's all good. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video. If so, be sure to give us a thumbs up and subscribe. And if you would like to follow along as we attempt to turn our home into a homestead, then be sure to ring the notification bell so you'll know when to be back for more daily, sustainable living.